No, we'll look at each other once we start talking. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Obsessed with Pickleball podcast. It is my privilege and honor to be here with Blair Beacon. She is an incredible actress, comedian, writer, funniest person I know, and excellent pickleball player. And she is joining me here today to talk about the new podcast. See, you're already getting me nervous. To talk about the new documentary, Dream Breaker, A Pickleball Story. So on today's podcast, we're going to talk about the new documentary that is out on Hulu and Max about pickleball. And I also want to get a little caught up on the Anna Lee Waters, Catherine Parento, Anna Bright drama. There are some partner updates. I also listened to Jill Braverman's podcast, and she had very similar thoughts as I did about Anna Bright's choices. And if there was some kind of conversations happening between Anna Lee and Anna before Catherine and Anna Lee's loss. So I'll get into that later. But first, Blair and I will talk about this documentary. Now, Blair, I feel like you can really relate to this. Flashback, prime COVID.
Okay.
I am one of the first people to care about pro pickleball, and I will stand by that. I knew what was coming the second Tom Dundon. If you guys haven't watched the documentary yet, I'm going to give a little recap. But before I do that, I knew the second that billionaire bought the PPA, we were in for a whirlwind of drama. So little me, creative executive, creates an iconic pitch deck, tells my bosses everything they need to know about pro pickleball, and they pass. They pass. Blair, they pass. So I watched this documentary that is like word for word what I pitched.
Including the guy that lives in the yurt?
Nope, I would not have had my main character.
That's my biggest critique right out of the gate.
Who is that?
I don't know.
Yes, I would have chosen a different narrator, but they did not bring up any of the inter-player relations. Don't you feel like you would have liked it a little bit more if there was like a little juice?
Yeah, yes, for sure. I was just telling friends about it, and they were like, I said that I watched the pickleball documentary, and they were like, well, what was it about? And I was like, I guess mostly just about how the pro circuit works or came together.
It's about a very specific moment in time.
Yeah.
That was a very juicy moment in time.
Yeah.
But yes, it's very niche.
I guess I just didn't get what, usually you watch a documentary and you're like, oh, I get what you wanted me to take from this. Or I get what side you're on, or I get this. I was like, okay.
100%. And let's get into that after we do our little recap, because I had a very clear hypothesis.
Okay.
When I was going to make my documentary.
Okay.
And it was about what happens when money gets involved, really, and how does that interact. You have a game that's fun, and it becomes a sport, and then a billionaire gets involved, and what happens?
Yeah.
And
that's what yours was going to be about?
And this is what this is kind of about.
Yeah.
It is about what happens, but I agree that they didn't really take a side.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the side they took was like being an idealist versus practical. But I don't think they got into enough about like how it affects the players and the fans.
Yeah, it was rare too for me. I like to watch a lot of documentaries, and I did write a mini docuseries once for Wondery. It was interesting that both sides, the MLP and the PPA, both had representatives come onto the podcast, but they didn't get them to say much.
Yeah, I think what I would have.
Am I getting you ahead of where you want to be?
No, not at all. But I would say that what I would have made my documentary a little bit more about is like, what is money? These people are just making numbers up, throwing around people's lives, throwing around money. I would have to say way too many men in one room together. You don't see a woman on these call sheets. And
all white guys.
They're just throwing up money and then firing each other. And then like, at the end of the day, it's these two rich guys who are like, no, I want to win, no, I want to win, no, I want to win. And then eventually they lose.
Yeah, I don't even understand. I mean, you haven't given your recap.
Yeah, I haven't
yet,
given the recap,
but
so we might be getting ahead of ourselves. So let me give you a little recap to anyone who hasn't watched the movie yet. Pickleball started a while ago, and pro pickleball was like local tournaments. Like, I honestly, what you would think a Moneyball tournament is now.
yeah.
And it grew and grew. One of the biggest things that moved it into more of a pro sport is like the US Open, nationals, things like that, that are still mostly amateurs with the pros. It became bigger with the pros, and the PPA came in, blah, blah, blah. Pro pickleball starts to get popular during the pandemic because a lot of people started playing it and we had a lot of time. So I started playing pickleball and I had a lot of time on my hands. So I would watch pickleball on YouTube while I was working. And I think that happened to a lot of people. Once you start getting into a sport, you're going to start watching clips of people who are really good at that sport, playing that sport. Like, are you going to try to become a better basketball player without ever watching a basketball game? No, it doesn't make any sense. So the tours start getting bigger and bigger. More people are playing, so more money is going into the amateur tournaments, which is where a lot of these tournaments are still making most of their money. And the pros are getting better, and it's becoming a bigger deal. The APP Tour and the PPA Tour are the two biggest tours, and they're growing and growing. Tom Dundon, a billionaire, he owns other sports teams like North Carolina, like hockey team or something, all this other stuff. You can look him up. And he sees the value in the PPA and buys the PPA. Now, at this time, I don't know if APP and PPA are necessarily equal or unequal. I was watching, but I couldn't have told you which one was better. But the PPA definitely was where like more of the better players were leaning towards, the Ben Johns and the Annalie Waters, but they were still all playing all the different tours.
That's what you say. I didn't understand at what point you could only play APP or PPA. But it was like PPA maybe will go exclusive or something.
Exactly. Okay. So that is when the big shift happened, even before MLP came involved. And that's something I thought the documentary glossed over. So PP and APP. Tom Dundon sees the sport, it's the fastest growing sport in America. I'm a billionaire. I'm going to profit on it, and I'm going to make pickleball a profitable entity. I'm going to buy the PPA. But how am I going to be the best tour? I'm going to sign the best players to exclusive contracts with my tour. This kind of screwed the APP over. Now, at the time, it didn't really seem like an issue because there was the APP Tour and the PPA Tour. But the PPA started flushing money in to sign players onto these contracts and pay them. But you had to be exclusive. So there became this like big divide between PPA players and APP players. PPA had Ben Johns, Annalie Waters, Matt Wright, Lucy Kovalova, Simone, obviously Colin Johns, Catherine, Jada Villiers, all those people. And then on the APP side, you kind of had like more younger up and coming players, but not the top players at the time. And one of my favorite pickleball histories is the rivalry between the APP and the PPA. APP players at the time included J.W. Johnson, Dylan Frazier, Georgia Johnson, Paris Todd, Vivian David, Thomas Wilson, Hayden Patriquin, the Brashas, Zayn Nabertil, Andrea Coop, Corinne Carr. That whole section were APP players.
That was impressive.
That APP players, and the PPA had Ben and Annalie. And like candidly, the whole like Ben Johns and Annalie hoopla has never been like super interesting to me. It's a little bit people being the best all the time is boring to me.
Yeah, agreed.
So I was always kind of like, I'm not giving up on the APP. I'm going to keep watching my favorite players in the APP, and I'm going to like have faith in them. And obviously the PPA was growing and growing and growing, but the APP was still right in there. The PPA didn't want you to think that. The players were definitely like, we're the better tour. That's the second league tour. And there was this very much message that PPA was number one, APP was like the minor leagues.
Yeah.
So this is what gets juicy about that. So when MLP started, everyone could play MLP. You got that, right? Like the first season. Steve Kuhn, who invented MLP, he had this catchphrase, pickleball can save America. That is what he kind of is selling everything based on. So he starts MLP, team-based format, and everyone can play.
Yeah.
And I think at the time, Tom Dundon and Connor Pardo, PPA, or like the APP people, they were kind of like, okay, go play this little event, because it was just one event.
Yeah.
It wasn't a season, it was one event. And it was fun. They did not know the product that he had created would be as electric and as fun as it was. So it was super duper successful, and then we're gonna go into a second season. And basically, the PPA was like, absolutely not. Like, our players are not playing in your events. And that was like a big deal because at the time, and this gets into the whole Paris Todd thing that they talk about a lot, but at the time, the field was low. Like, the field was a lot more shallow than it is now.
Mm-hmm.
So losing those top 15, 20 players, they thought would definitely decrease the caliber of players.
Yeah.
This was definitely clear on the female side a lot. So they have this event. None of the top players are there. Uh-oh. Chi-chi.
Wait, they have which event?
So they have the second season of MLP, the second event. The second season of MLP has 3 events. Season 1 event.
Yeah.
Ben Johns wins with Rob Nunnery, his ex-best friend.
Are we going to get into that?
Who he may or may not be dating his ex-wife. See, I would have put that in my documentary. Let's just put it that way. Andrea Koop, Irina Teroshenko, and Rob Nunnery. They win. They beat Annalise's team, which is iconic. When she was with Kyle Yates, who was like one of the OGs who actually taught Ben how to play. And then, anyway.
Wait, in that one, did they pick their own teams?
No, so it was all like a snake draft.
Oh, interesting.
You know what I mean? So people get drafted.
Okay.
So second season, they're going to have 3 events in the second season. And the PPA is like, nah, you can't have my players. They're contracted to me. They can't play your event. And that came out of nowhere. Like, Steve Coombe did not know that was happening. And we were all like, the fans were pissed because this was like the favorite thing we've ever watched. Like, that first MLP was insane. You had, for the first time ever, women and men playing singles against each other in the Dream Breaker.
Right. What year was this?
2022.
Okay.
21 or 22. 22, I think. So they were like, fuck, what are we going to do? We're losing. Like, is it going to be good without Ben and Annalie? Newsflash, it was just as good. It was just as fun. The energy was super high. It was still amazing. So all the players that were on PPA, and what Steve Coombe did is he said, okay, whoever wins, the team that wins gets $100,000. At that time, a $25,000 prize for a 1 weekend thing was insane. And you actually felt like you could win. When you do a PPA tournament, do you actually even feel like you can win? If you're going to play singles against Annalie, probably not.
Right.
So now you're a middle level player. You could get on a good team and win.
Yeah. Love that.
Love it.
Yeah.
So, and now this is important to keep in mind as we're recapping for the rest of the episode. This is when little old nobody named Paris Todd has a breakout season because she's very good, but no one knows who she is, and she's highly underdrafted because of there's not a lot of women on, so she gets a chance.
Wait, which tour did she have a breakout season on?
She had a breakout season on MLP.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So the second season of MLP, she gets drafted as like in one of the last pickups on a really good team. And has a great season. Okay. So all the players who are PPA players, they see this and they're like, wait, that's so fun. Like Leia Jansen said, like, we saw that and we were like, why can't we do that? Like, why can't we play in that?
Yeah.
And so they went to the PPA and they're like, we want to play in this. So then Tom Dundon made a deal with Steve Coombe that the PPA players could play in the next MLP season.
Yeah.
So next MLP season, amazing season.
Also, I have to say, I am so impressed. For anyone listening, Jane's doing this without having written anything down. So this is all off the cuff, and that's wild.
I want to be very accurate about the timeline of Paris Todd, because to me, talking about this girl, Paris Todd, who was overvaluing herself in quotation marks when she didn't want to sign a contract, that was important. Okay, so all the players, so PPA is like, cool, go ahead, you can use our players. Tom Dundon, Connor Perdot are like, okay, you can use our players, we'll make a deal with you. So they have another incredibly successful season.
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, Tom Dundon and Colin Pardot.
Connor Perdot.
I had neighbors growing up named Connor and Colin, so they get flipped in my head sometimes. Now, how are they different from one another?
Great. Good question.
Are they different from one another?
They are. Maybe. Connor Pardoe is like, he is the head of the PPA.
Right.
And then Tom Dundon's the billionaire that came and bought. So he's the boss.
They're
Tom
both
Dundon.
billionaires, though?
No, Connor Pardoe's not a billionaire.
Oh, okay.
Just Tom Dundon.
He had rich kid vibes in the documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it could be rich kid, but not necessarily billionaire.
Not like he has
Yeah.
a billionaire net worth who can buy a professional sports league.
Yeah, okay.
Very like, and they're all from Utah, Mormons. So very blonde. It's a very blonde staff. Like when you're at when you're at PPA tournaments, you can actually like recognize who is working there by like their level of like clean cut blondness. Like if you go and I like quiz you, I'm like, in this room, who do you think works for the PPA? I bet you could point them out.
Really?
Well, I guess I go to tournaments like LA where we're all like messy.
Yeah.
Maybe if I was in like North Carolina or something.
Yeah, I have something I want to say about that, but I guess I won't because we're being recorded.
I can cut it out.
I know what you're talking about. Like I went on a trip last year, and at the same resort, it was all blonde people, families of blonde people, and you could just tell, oh, this is like a Mormon company having their company retreat here.
Yeah. So yes.
Okay, so that's the difference between, they're both blondes. One's a billionaire. One is just kind of like rich kid vibes. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, got it.
So in the last minute, okay, so they have another great season.
Yeah.
Everything seems to be going well. Out of nowhere, literally nowhere. This is 2023. So maybe the first like event was 2021, the second season was 2022, and then 2023 happens. Some shuffle of sorry, I don't memorize the dates, but out of nowhere, we find out that Steve Kuhn is going to cancel the partnership with the PPA and sign players to exclusive MLP contracts.
Fascinating.
I know. Why would he do that?
So when you say they had a partnership, it was just sort of like they had just an agreement that they could play both.
Yes.
Okay.
And something that is interesting about this whole thing as it goes through is that all of these like agreements are so easily blown up. I'm like, are agreements real?
Right.
Like, is anything real?
No.
Like nothing's real. We're all just going to sue each other all day and have like fake agreements. Yeah.
Those kinds of people.
Yeah. They're just going to sue each other all day. Okay. So out of nowhere, I would have to say that what I'm about, the next 2 weeks or so may have been two of the most exciting weeks of my life.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Get ready. I don't even care.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. At this point too, I'm very team APP and team MLP.
Okay.
The vibes of the PPA are just a little, like, they're like a little, like, New England Patriots, New York Yankees, like, we're better than you, we always win.
Yeah.
Not fun vibes to me.
Yeah.
Even though, I mean, I watched every single tournament and, like, know everything about everything.
Yeah.
I was just always, like, I like an underdog.
Yeah.
And the MLP format to me is, like, so much better than the PPA format.
Yeah, it's a little more rock and roll.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, like me.
Yeah.
So, Steve Kuhn announces that he's going to start signing exclusive contracts.
Okay.
What happens is called the Tour Wars.
Okay. I remember this happening, but I didn't understand it. So
well, did you read the article I wrote? It's a quick 10-minute read. I'll send it to you. I lay every single thing out in 2023. Out of nowhere, we're starting to get these like Instagram graphics of like signed, like Tyson McGuffin signed, blah, blah. So the question every day was, where is everybody going to go?
Yes.
Who is going to get signed on who? As soon as it started happening, I should have gone back and looked at like who the first few people were.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of APP players, right? So all the APP players go there first.
To MLP.
Honestly, like, I'm wondering how far back I'd have to go to find those. Right. All the APP players go MLP, but they start signing some big names. Tyson is the first big name they signed. That's huge, Tyson McGuffin. And they just start signing other players. Then you have Connor Pardoe being like, what the fuck? They're taking my players. He's on the phone at tournaments, literally like on the side of the road. Like it's all happening during the tournament.
Stop.
Yes. Calling his players, being like, don't sign anything, blah, blah, blah. Calling other players like, I had this on the table for you, but you have one day to fill it out, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's freaking out. We don't know where Annalie Waters, Ben Johns are going to go.
Yeah.
So you saw in the documentary, they did a really good job of kind of documenting out how those days progressed, where, okay, they gave Anna, I didn't know that they offered Anna Lee her own team.
I know, that's wild.
That's wild. But $3 million over 3 years, that's wild.
Wild.
Ben John's got something crazy, but no one knew how many years his contract was for. It made sense for some of the like more like veteran players to go with the PPA because they want the guaranteed easy money. They don't want to go play MLPs. They don't want to scream in everyone's face. Like,
Yeah.
but then a lot of the APP players want MLP. But something that they didn't talk about in the documentary, which I'm surprised about, two things that I thought were missing from the documentary. One, how do you make a documentary about pickleball and not mention Simone Giorgi?
I was wondering that too.
I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Her story is like, she is pickleball to me.
Yeah, same.
I'm like, from beginning to end, everything she's done for the sport.
Yeah, she was the first person I kind of followed for tips, and yeah.
And she has
one of the
like,
first names I learned.
she has like, a lot of the players that we see now started playing with Simone.
Yeah.
Ben Johns, JW Johnson, Paris Todd, like throughout that. Okay. So the other thing is the Johnson 5. So this is probably like my favorite thing that's ever happened in pickleball.
Okay, cool.
So everyone's getting signed,
Mm-hmm.
but there are two players who are like the hottest players on the APP tour, JW Johnson and Dylan Frazier.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say Georgia, but
She's still a baby at this point.
yeah.
Georgia's not what Georgia was now.
Okay.
Georgia now, she's 18. This was when she was like 16. So she's very good, but she's not what she was now. But JW Johnson and Dylan Frazier are like the number 3 mixed team in the world. They win everything. They're amazing.
Yeah.
So the question was, where's J-Dub going? Where's J-Dub going? Because he was the number 1 draft pick in MLP the year before.
Yeah.
Out of the MLP players, he was considered the best one. Dylan right there up with him. But now they're playing PPAs because PPAs opening up more contracts. They're not exclusive contracts. So all that.
So at that point, they could play all 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So.
But like, is Ben Johns playing APP at all?
Ben John's not playing APP.
Okay.
Before the tour wars of MLP started.
Yeah.
People started moving over from APP to PPA.
Okay.
They had to move over as it got bigger for the contracts and the money.
Yeah.
There was a moment where Zane Navratil, who was like the king of APP, finally went to PPA, and it was like a big fucking deal. And I was like, there's no way. Zane had like an academy at every tournament for APP. That's neither here nor there. I can like do an appendix one day explaining those shifts.
Okay.
But what's funny is that these APP players who everybody shit on are now like the biggest commodity in the entire world.
Love it.
So the Johnson 5. So no one knew where J-Dub was going. Julie Johnson, Georgia and J-Dub's mom.
Yeah.
Professional player in her own right. Also kind of had this like little group of kids that she mentored and coached. So JW Johnson, Dylan Frazier, Georgia Johnson, Millie Rain, and Gabe Tardio, hottest player in PBA. They all train together. They all practice together. They're all super young. So like when this was happening, Gabe's super young. Gabe's Georgia's age. So they were both like 15. J-Dub was like 19. Millie was like maybe the same 19. Dylan was like 20. Like this was all when they're super young. So everyone's like wondering where they're going to go. And Julie Johnson holds off for like 3, 4, 5 days after everyone else has picked a side to say where she's going to go. So everyone else is like, sign. Riley Newman chooses the MLP, which is crazy because he was like the number 2 player in the PPA, like PPA golden boy, but MLP must have given him some insane money. They gave Tyson like $2 million, something crazy. Wow. PPA signs all their players, but MLP probably has 2/3 of the players and PPA has 1/3. So PPA is saying, we have the best, we don't need you. MLP is like, what are you going to do with them? We have all these people and our product's better. So then one day, I remember so specifically, I was checking my phone like psychotically to see where the Johnson 5 were going.
Yeah.
And then they get one graphic and it just says like sign Johnson 5, like, but like this huge deal that when the MLP got those 5 players, it was like,
wow,
they have it now. That could have swung the tide.
Yeah. Exciting.
That's so crazy. Anyway, so I'm surprised that, and what I loved about that moment is that those 5 APP players were pushed down
Mm-hmm.
as being APP and not PPA, and then ended up being like so valuable, like
Totally.
fought over.
Yeah.
The irony.
I love that.
And now like all those APP players that were bad are like the
Really
best
good.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that was surprising that didn't happen.
Oh, wait, I have a question. But if you played APP, you could play MLP. Like there's no
Yeah, so
exclusivity with APP.
MLP signing the APP players was kind of a waste of money for them.
And why did the PPA it made people exclusively play with them so they couldn't play APP anymore?
Yes.
And then some people like Zane or J-Dub, they just chose not to be exclusive. Like why did they stay APP instead of PPA? Or
they were like holding out.
Okay.
I don't remember if the PPA didn't give them a thing or they're just like, we want to play both. Like, stop telling us what we can do.
Okay.
And then eventually everyone had to go over to PPA.
Okay.
But they at that time the PPA wasn't exclusive. They could still play MLP.
Yeah.
So the way it worked is PPA said our players can't play your thing, and MLP was like, okay, we don't need you. And the PPA players were like, we want to play MLP, and so PPA was like, okay, you can use our players. And then MLP's like, cool. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, MLP's like, yeah, but you can't have our players now. Like we're gonna sign our own players that you can't have.
Oh, wild.
Isn't that
That's
wild?
fun,
Isn't
yeah.
that fucking wild? Okay, so now everyone's split, and everyone's like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And eventually, as you saw in the documentary, they do a better job of like explaining like the CEOs and the blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, there's one thing that you need to know about. It's Vibe. You saw Vibe.
I saw Vibe, and I remember Vibe.
I remember this specific moment. I was sitting in the stands at a tournament, and I look over and I'm like, "That's Mark Cuban," and I'm like, "What is that? What is that sweatshirt he's wearing? It says Vibe on it." And then look around. I'm like, all these random PPA players are wearing Vibe sweatshirts, and I'm like, something's about to happen.
Oh,
boom!
my.
They announce Vibe, and everyone knows Vibe's fake. Everyone knows Vibe's fake, and they keep doubling down on Vibe. And it seems like anytime something like sketchy happened between the two entities, you would see like Annalie Waters' dad wearing a Vibe sweatshirt.
Oh my!
It was crazy. I remember being like, "Oh, look, the Waters are wearing Vibe sweatshirts," just to remind everyone that they could go Vibe.
That's interesting, and that brings me to another question I had. Did Lee Waters, was she PPA?
She was originally signed with the PPA. I don't remember when she got injured. If there was tour wars had started yet.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear something funny?
Yes.
So she tears her ACL.
Yes.
She has to get carried off the court.
Oof. Is that the funny part?
Guess who's standing there as she's getting carried by? Me.
That's the funny part?
How crazy is that?
That's crazy.
I'm literally walking, I turn, and I'm just like at that tournament, and they're just like carrying her. And I literally hear people following her being like, okay, what's Annalie going to do tomorrow? Because she's not a partner then. That's how crazy this Waters machine is.
Wow, that's wild.
Like they literally were like, we got to get Annalie a partner so that she can win her Triple Crown at Nationals.
Crazy.
I
love that. I just don't have that in me. That's not relatable to me. That I need to be the best. I mean, I'm not the best at anything. It's not relatable.
Blair, you are so competitive. You think you're not competitive. You don't want to be the best. This is the craziest thing you've ever said.
Let's talk about this.
We have to talk about it right now.
I don't.
Okay, sure. All right, no problem. Where were we before we started farsing?
I mean, we can talk about it, but
okay.
Maybe, yeah, if you want.
So
I just don't want to get you off topic.
Okay, so anyway, that's the tour wars. It was like
Okay.
the most crazy thing ever.
Yeah.
Eventually, they signed an agreement like, okay, we're gonna merge and be a partnership. They weren't merging to be one entity. They were merging to work together.
Okay.
And this is when there was a week of like a lot of depressing things because basically like my idea that like the MLP was going to be this great, amazing thing. And like they won and the bad guys lost and the players were going to get all their money and they can finally be pro players and blah, 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 slowly came crashing and burning down. And it became clear that they sold these teams. They got a bunch of celebrities that are rich to buy these teams, which ended up phasing out the original team owners. The original team owners were just like rich people who like pickleball. And then eventually like the decisions got so big that teams dissolved because they were like, I'm not paying this. I can't keep up with this. Like,
yeah.
I didn't agree to these decisions that Steve Kuhn's making. I didn't agree to that. I didn't agree to that. So That gets phased out. Steve Kuhn has stepped down.
And
I
Steve
think-
Kuhn's a billionaire too.
I
Or
don't
just
know
like
billionaire,
a
but
lot
I
of
think
money.
so. A lot of
Okay.
money. So I don't know. That whole part is a little bit less fun for me, so I don't remember it as well. But basically, he steps down. The board kicks or doesn't kick him out.
Yeah. I
Essentially,
remember
PPA takes over MLP.
that. Oh.
The UPA is formed, which is the merger between the two places,
Uh-huh.
and it's all under one roof. Now, the good thing is the players are getting paid,
Yeah.
which we can get into in a second. But I keep alluding to the fact that I'm going to talk about Paris Todd, so I'm going to talk about Paris Todd.
Yeah, please.
Okay, Paris Todd lore. Paris Todd is this ex-professional tennis player, which I'm learning that a lot of people were pro tennis players. Like, but they just like, what does that mean?
What do you mean?
Like, if you're just like a pro tennis player, but like you never win any tournaments, you just like go around the world playing in these tennis tournaments.
Yeah. And you
Like,
make money
so
from
many-
sponsorships. I guess.
But like, I don't know. It's so weird. Like all these people like used to play pro. I guess it's like pickleball.
Looks like pickleball.
I guess, but now I don't know. It's so weird. I
Like-
guess that's true about pickleball too. I don't understand.
Like Elise Jones.
No, Elise Jones like is a well-known pickleball name,
That's what I'm saying.
but
yeah.
Paris Todd wasn't a well-known pickleball name.
Tennis.
Tennis.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you're not obsessed with tennis. If you ask some of the people we play pickleball with, they probably won't know who Elise Jones is.
Okay, so she comes out of tennis. Something that we have to always remember with Paris Todd when it's important to her story, she's very pretty. Like this has elevated her with brand deals and like her personality. She's very pretty. So she hops on the scene fast by having a breakout season with BLQK and MLP. What we learned from MLP is that it's always about drafting, right? Like whatever team can get a steal is the team that wins.
Okay.
Like if your team somehow has a steal in it, your last draft is really, really good. You get somebody undervalued,
Mhm.
which is basically the Dallas Flash last year. Every single one of them was undervalued. Like every single player is undervalued, and that's why they won.
What do you mean by undervalued?
Like taken in the draft too late.
Okay, sure.
So JW Johnson was taken 12, and so he would wear on his shirt a 12
Love it.
to like be like, you took me 12. Now look.
Yeah.
You could have had me, and now look what I did.
Oh, love it.
I know.
12. That's crazy.
Yeah, because people valued like James Ignatowicz and Jack Sock over him. People are
What?
so dumb. Why don't they call me?
They should have called
I
you.
could have told you that Jack Sock was smoke and mirrors for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
And then James Ignatowicz is overrated. Everybody like hopefully this year he'll have a better season, but like he's overrated. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm getting a lot of notifications because it's the WNBA draft right now.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so she gets drafted to this team and she's just way better than the other fourth girls. Like the other fourth players, she's like way better.
Yeah,
So they win.
of course.
So her stake is high. Then in one of the most iconic matches in the history of pickleball, she beats Annalie Waters in singles for the first time. It's PPA Tour. No one knows who she is. It's a 5-game final. Now they don't do singles for 5 games in the final. They just stick to 3.
Okay.
It's like a 5-game singles final. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
So these two girls on the court battling for so long in a 5-game match. And Paris Todd with Ryan Sherry like holding the umbrella in between her matches. No one knows who she is. Beats Annalie Waters. So it's like, so it's not crazy that after that she would hold out for a better contract before agreeing to play MLP. And when that happened, people were ruthless to her, saying like how she overvalued herself, blah blah.
Oh.
And I even remember the time being like, she's never going to get what she's asking for.
Yeah.
And essentially, she didn't get what she's asking for. They passed, and she went and was the queen of APP.
Right.
But like people were just like mad. And I think it's like she just was like, I'm gonna get an aloe. She now has she's like, I don't fucking need you.
Yeah, truly.
I'm really good. I will always have a fan base because I'm like the Christian girl next door who's gorgeous and good at pickleball. And now Aloe sponsors me. I'm good at social media. Like she's a different generation of these like billionaires.
Right.
She's like, you need me.
Yeah.
Like you need my Instagram. You need me. I don't need you right now. I'll see you next year when you give me a better deal.
So at that point, she couldn't do MLP.
Yeah, she sat out at MLP, and this is why that was crazy. At that time, she's like, oh, no one needs me. Or they're like, oh, they thought, oh, we don't need you, Paris. But at that time, the women's field was very shallow.
Yeah.
So they actually really could have used her. Like, that was when it was literally like, oh, Paris would have been a really good asset with some of these other girls. But anyway, I just thought that was so interesting. And she's just very smart. Like, she's like, okay, well, I'm not going to sign up with PPA and MLP.
Yeah. See ya.
I'm going to play APP. And she won gold every single week, got lots of prize money, was a household name at all of these APP tournaments, all the APP people watching, got to the top of APP, switched over to PPA, and now she's top 5 woman in PPA.
Oh, crazy. And I will say, from my perspective, as someone who doesn't know the inner workings of PPA and APP and what was going on with Paris, I assumed she wasn't good enough.
Well, no, I mean, people...
Like, that she wasn't good enough to even be in the PPA or MLP. I just thought she didn't get picked.
I mean, yeah.
So that's why this documentary was good for me.
That's the risk she took, people thinking that she's not good enough to be on there. But
what about...
She could have been winning every APP or mid-pack every PPA.
Yeah.
So what do you choose? So she just got better and then came to PPA when she was really good.
What about someone like, this is just me trying to get caught up on my pickleball knowledge, like someone like Jill Braverman. Is she good enough for PPA or MLP?
Blair. Or the can of worms that you just opened up we'd have to do an entirely different podcast. But Jill Braverman and the PPA are mortal enemies.
I did know she did that tweet or said that comment on her podcast, and then he tweeted at her. Who was it that tweeted at her?
Like the COO or the something of PPA, which was like completely ridiculous.
Okay.
Can you imagine?
No.
Like,
but she's never been like asked to join those leagues?
Blair, I don't know if I have the message.
Okay, let's put a pin in
right now. We're going to put a pin in Jill Braverman.
Yeah, sorry.
It's so extensive.
Okay.
I would actually need to make a timeline of the Jill Braverman stuff.
Okay, cool. Let's put a pin in it. Sorry, I got you off topic.
What you need to know is this. Jill Braverman used to be the CEO of Duper.
Right.
And she worked for Steve Kuhn. So she was a big MLP proponent.
Oh.
And played on the APP tour. Ended up coming into MLP, like getting drafted mid-season when she wasn't originally up. I'll tell you.
Here you go. I thought you were going.
There's this one tournament. I'm going to tell you the story because I think like the true fans will remember it and think it's funny. There was this one tournament where she's playing singles. This is a long, long time ago against Vivian David. And you have your timeout. You come back for your timeout. The ref says you have 1 minute. The ref says the score you serve. So they're playing and like you're watching on the YouTube stream and Jill's waiting for Viv. Viv's walking back from her water break. And the ref calls the score and Jill serves into the empty court and takes the point.
No.
This was so much drama.
That's like when you nasty Nelson Jeremy the other day took the point.
Of course I'm going to take the point, get out of the way. But mine was by accident because of the yips. But no, I mean, so then a lot of people are like, that's such bad sportsmanship. But then it's like, but the ref called the score. So why wouldn't, like, you're not back from the timeout in time. And that was kind of like an example of like the switching over point of pro pickleball. Is she supposed to just wait?
Yeah.
Or is she supposed to take the point?
Right.
Nowadays, you would never see people not be like, okay, hurry up from the timeout. Like, there's no way.
They'd serve.
But back in the day, it was like casual city.
Yeah.
Now we're at a point where people are like hooking their line calls 24/7, let alone waiting for you to mosey on back after the timeout.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay, so end of the tour wars. Okay, so that's Paris Todd.
Okay.
So I've always been a Paris fan after that because I'm like, you know what, girl?
Yeah.
And the way these other, these like male podcasters like, oh, honey, you think you're better than you are, blah. Who cares what she thinks about herself?
Yeah.
Like, I remember being like, specifically, like, you're crazy. You're never going to get this money. Like, 100% have not.
But she's playing the long game. She's young.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what does she care?
Well, can I say one other thought I had from the documentary? Am I getting you off topic?
No, please.
Okay.
I feel like I need you to like get me back.
So the documentary, a big takeaway for me was, this was the time where people really started to become delusional about what a professional pickleball player was and the fact that they could maybe become one.
Okay, let's get into it.
Because,
Like, in what way? Tell me.
well, just, I mean, I think it was inspiring for a lot of delusional amateurs.
Mhm.
Like, even today, there's still like 35-year-old people that are like, I'm going to become a pro, or I'm going to, and because there's people like Ryan Sherry, who was a pro at pickleball and singles because the pool was really small. And
Yeah.
so then it gave, and that also gave pickleball that like reputation of it's a joke.
Yes.
But now it's like, and if you look at that documentary, everybody in it is just like kind of like 30-year-old white people.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what the pro, like the best pickleball players look like now. They're like 20.
No, like that
They're
was
professional
the thing.
athletes at this point.
Right.
Like professional athletes are now becoming professional pickleball players.
Yes.
So like it's making it even more embarrassing for the delusional people out there that think they can be pro. Like because pickleball had like a reputation, like and like your plumber could be a professional pickleball player. Like, and it's like no.
Well, I think that's exactly what money does. But I just want to say, like, in Ryan Sherry's defense,
Oh, he's good.
he's very good at singles.
I know he's very
But
good.
you watch it and you're like, oh, I can be like on the older end. I can have a bender in Vegas for 3 days and then come win a tournament.
And I'm not saying he's not good. I'm saying that
like
that's not
a real
professional.
person. Yeah.
That's not the highest caliber of professional athlete that you could get for this sport.
So there was definitely, you're totally right. There was that time where money started flushing in and you started seeing people. There's like so many jokes about it. Like, yeah, about people's athletic ability. I mean, but like that person's not a real athlete. How are they a professional player?
It's even now there's people that watch these like 19-year-olds and they're like, I'm going to play the way that Hayden Patrick-Quinn plays.
Yes.
And I'm like, you will never. You're 12 years older than him. Like I'm going to cover the whole court. I'm going to cover 3/4 of the court the way that I watch like Hayden do it, or Christian Alshon. And I'm like, that person is 10 to 15 years younger than you. At least. And is way more athletic naturally than you'll be. That is a professional athlete.
No, like Hayden's like 20 years younger.
Yeah, and that's a professional athlete.
That's a professional athlete.
And so like, yeah, that brings me onto a whole other thing. But people that like, even if they cover a lot of the courts, like you don't have the offense that a professional athlete has.
These people train 8 hours a day to do what they do.
And they're young. Yeah, it's different. Really, yeah. You could still be very good in your own right.
Like, what are you thinking?
But yeah, like even being like the goal of winning, say like, oh, never mind. I don't want to say anything too personal. Scratch this, edit this.
This is stated. I do think that 2 years ago, these college tennis players were not going into pickleball. They were going to have their own delusional journey of trying to be professional tennis players, or they were going to give up sports and have regular jobs.
But now kids are learning how to play pickleball, like as a sport. So it's going to be in their body in a way that it will never be in any of our bodies that learn how to play as an adult.
Oh no, I mean,
it's like learning a foreign language when you're 30 is very different than learning it when you're 3.
And I mean, there was like there's that whole big wave too, where professional tennis players thought they were going to come into the sport and be the best player in 3 months. Sam Querrey famously went on a podcast and said, I will be top 10 player in 3 months. And we're looking, that was months and months and months, way more than 3 months, like maybe 3 times 10 months. I don't know. And he is top 50 maybe? I don't know.
Right now?
50.
You think even?
50. I'll give him top 50.
Okay. I didn't even know he still played.
He did get injured for a while, so I don't know if he's back on the court. That was so funny. So one MLP season, I knew he the third. He was the first round draft pick in Challenger, and then like couldn't win a game.
How about Challenge? There was Challenger.
There's still Challenger in Premier.
That's right. Okay.
So let's just wrap up the documentary.
Yeah.
Business gets involved, money, men, blah, 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 contracts, COOs, CEOs, blah, blah, blah. Where we end up now. UPA is the governing body of both MLP and PPA. Now they work in tandem. And we still have our MLP events, and we still have PPA. They're trying to make it more city-based with city events. They're making it more of a season. So like MLP will run, like run in a few months rather than throughout the year, great. They keep experimenting with all these things. I think that one thing I do believe is that even though they're under the same umbrella now, I do believe that PPA is in charge, that they have continued to make decisions to make sure that PPA stays above MLP because they know that MLP is a better product. They sell this message that you will never, like, you cannot be the best player unless you play PPA because you have to be the best of the best, which is true.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people don't care who the best is.
Right.
I want to know, I want a team and I want to cheer for a team.
As fans.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I do think they consistently try to do things to hurt MLP and MLP rises above because it's just a more fun experience.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I like about PPA is when I see new people playing together and I'm like, oh, that's so fun to see these two guys.
Yeah. Or you're like
together.
or when you're like, or when there's like rivalries and like people hate each other and like,
yeah.
Or one of my favorite things is when like two players think like, let's just like hypothetical.
Yeah.
That there's like two male players.
Okay.
That both think they're the best.
Okay.
And they chirp at each other a lot and they're a huge rival and they hate each other.
Okay.
Fast forward a year. Neither one of them has a partner. They have to end up partnering with each other. Like it's that kind of stuff.
I love that. Did that happen?
Yeah, that happens all the time.
Okay,
like, oh wow, they both really hit the bottom of the barrel. Yeah. They have to play with each other.
Yeah. When you did your podcast episode on Anna Bright and Anna Lee Waters, I had a lot of thoughts on that too. Well, because
let's get into it. Okay, so we've wrapped up MLP.
Oh, sorry.
No, this is great because I have a lot of thoughts on. I think about the Anna Bright, Anna Lee Waters thing multiple times a day, so we can get into it. But the documentary, I think, is a good watch. It's nice and short. They could have gotten into some more juicy, like interpersonal relationships. I would have personally talked about more like relationships and rivalries and like how things were playing out, but it was informative.
Yeah, I'd say it was kind of informative if you're interested in the MLP and the PPA. Agreed. What it needs is they needed players on there talking about other players.
They're skipping over the exact moment that you're talking about. Right now, we are dealing with athletes trying to make a lot of money. You have Christian Alshon coming in, and he has a lot. I can make a whole TV show that he's the front of, but let's use as an example of an athlete. He came into pickleball, and he's like, I'm a professional athlete. I'm going to be the best at pickleball. I'm going to win everything. Federico Saxtrud is another example. He's like, he came in, he's like, not fucking around.
Yeah.
Back in the day, there was a lot of fucking around going on. Like, they didn't have to train all the time. They were suddenly making a lot of money. There was a lot of people hanging out with each other, and like, it's more casual, and like, there was juicy gossip. Like, now people are locked in for the job. There's still a lot of juicy gossip. But at that time, there was just this culture of like, wait, I was like an accountant who played pro pickleball on the side. Now you want to give me $250,000 a year to keep playing? I'm in my late 20s, early 30s. I have my life. I'm just going to have fun. Like, what kind of shenanigans can these people get into?
That's crazy. I mean, even watching Tyson McGuffin was kind of making me cringe because I'm like, his moment in the spotlight is dwindling.
I would say, like,
am I wrong?
You're not wrong at all. I would say that last year he was still peaking, and we'll see how the thing is that MLP gives everyone a chance to.
Yeah.
He's still very popular.
Okay.
He still has a huge fan base.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's older now. Like, he's not going to win like he used to.
Yeah. I thought it was cool that he mentioned his veneers.
Like, just own it.
Yeah. I'm glad that.
Own it.
Yeah. Because I think about it a lot, and that's cool to hear him mention it.
I know. Just
mention it.
Get out ahead of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the Tour Wars was a really special time for me. Checking my phone, texting my friends, like, oh my God, did you see this person got signed? Literally just naming, like, just texting, like Lauren Stratman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like, Lauren Stratman, Julian Arnold. Okay, we have to get off. We have to move on because I think people will actually finally start getting bored of this stuff in a second. But Julian Arnold won MVP of a MLP season.
Okay.
Got a ton of money, was insane, and then chose to sign with the PPA. And hasn't medaled yet.
Yeah, that sucks.
Doesn't even make sense to me. Okay. So that's the documentary.
We've been going.
Tell me what you think about. Oh, this is the longest I've ever recorded, and we haven't even gotten into a second topic. So tell me what you think about.
Should we make it into a second episode? Yeah, I think so. Because 50 minutes is long.
Okay.
We're back.
No. Okay. Blair and I just talked about the Tour Wars for a really long time. You're gonna have to catch us in the second episode where we get into the Annalie Waters drama, and we're gonna talk about just pickleball etiquette for rec players.
Okay.
We're gonna tell our most cringiest but also like shameless experiences. But you need to follow me on Instagram, Obsessed with Pickleball, Obsessed with Pickleball Pod. I'm now on TikTok, Obsessed with Pickleball Pod. And like and subscribe to this podcast, YouTube and Spotify. And
tell your friends to do the same.
Yeah, just get your friends to watch this podcast.
Yeah.
Tell them Blair's on it and they will tune right in. Okay. Second episode coming up soon. You don't want to miss it.